Hey, it's John and Mike, brew-tubes.com, and we have two beers in front of us, and they're similar, yet different. Mike said, hey, we should do a video. I've got two beers. They're attached to each other, so let's do that. I mean, we could do separate videos, but really, these are meant to be together. And I say to myself, well, why would I want to separate these beers?
Yeah, this beautiful
Do
pairing.
you want me to be the separator? No, I'm bringing people together. These beers together. All right. So one is definitely an amber,
yes.
a red ale.
Yep.
And one is definitely a stout.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So
yes,
tell me more about these.
So this is an Irish red
beers.
and an Irish stout.
How about that?
So I brewed them for the family. We celebrate as a family St. Patrick's
Cheers.
Day with some of our. We're surrounded by family here, so
Too many
we have a big corned beef and cabbage celebration here. And this year was finally the year I tried to get my stuff together so I could have a stout on draft. But I figured if I'm going to do a stout, I also want to do an Irish red at the same time because not everybody likes drinking stout and Irish red. What the heck? You might as well challenge yourself. And I think my last 17 beers I brewed have been hovering in this amber ale space. So I said, let's just keep this ball rolling, shall we? So
Thanks, Jar.
Anyway, so let's start. Let's focus on. Which one? Let's start with the stout. This one you got in your
start
hand.
with the stout.
Okay?
Sounds good.
So let's start with the stout. Now, these two beers are related, and I did it on purpose because I was trying to think about, historically speaking, what ingredients would certain breweries have had available to them to do some of these things. This is not a classic dry Irish stout. This is more of a modern interpretation. But what would an Irish brewery have available to them in order to make both of these styles, right? So This beer starts off with British pale malt, right, about 72%. It's 11% flaked barley. That's not a big surprise. This is where then for me it's a little bit different. There's a little over 5% of Caristan, which is a crystal malt, a British crystal malt, about 35 Levabon. And then it's about another 5.5% of roasted barley, okay? And to take a little edge off of the roasted barley, just give it a slightly different dimension. I've done this before and I like this. It's another 5.5% of midnight wheat. So I find that midnight wheat brings a little bit more soft roast, a little bit more chocolate to the party than most of your chocolate malts or things that are that dark, right? That dark. It's a very soft, dark malt. Used in small quantities. I use it for color control sometimes. But in this, I wanted something that was, like when you think of the classic, like Guinness, it's actually very soothing, the roast is not like aggressive, like certainly not like American stout or in my mind even like robust porter aggressive. It's just a comforting, rounded, dark roastness. So I just wanted to smooth that out a little bit and combine it with a little bit of that caramel Caristan malt and see what I ended up with. And
I could drink that all day, dude.
So this one, again, shooting for attenuation, this is at 142 F for 90 minutes with a quick ramp up to 168 for mash out. The starting gravity in this was 1044. It finished at 1010, which makes it 4.3%, right in the sweet spot for the style. And the other thing, so in the yeast there's just something about this and I don't use this enough, Y yeast 1084, the Irish ale yeast. There's just something about the ester profile, and I think the metabolism of some sort, to be geeky about it, of that yeast with roasted malts, it just does something different than that even other British strains don't do in a stout. I'm going to take a sip of this. What do you think?
I said I could drink this all day. I certainly could. It's when you did, I questioned the availability of midnight wheat back in the 17 or 1800s, but I think that it works really well here. You started this, there
was a great article in I think it was one of the more recent issues of Zymergy, or maybe it was BYO magazine, talking about modern Irish stout. And so I was already on this path here that not all stout in Ireland is Guinness. Even though Guinness is still 90% of it, there are other breweries doing little twists on it. One of my favorite dry Irish stouts, which we can't get here anymore, is Beamish. And Beamish is a little softer. So that's what I was sort of going for. I don't really exactly remember what Beamish tastes like exactly. All I know is that I could pick it out from Guinness. And I remember just being slightly softer. So No, I don't have a nitro pour. I'm working towards that
need
at
to
some
get
point.
that, yeah.
But a nitro pour would really make this type of beer sing. Anyway,
That article actually had like the equipment you need to get for.
oh yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah, and
we
they
should
talk
look
about like
into that.
nitrogenation, how
Yes,
to do
all
it.
that stuff,
It's
yeah.
something I've wanted to do for a long time. But now that I got these new kegerators, I think that's the way to go. So
Do that.
um,
Well, you also have you need a tap head too, right? Like a,
Nuka tap faucets
yes.
have removable tips.
Oh, love it.
And the frits you can put in there so you don't need to buy a whole new faucet if you buy Nuka Tap. Nuka Tap, I just plugged you hard. Just
Remember
send us more gear. I love these I love the Nuka Tap faucets.
Well, let me talk about this. I mean, certainly, just all the roastiness on the nose. It follows through. All the softness you talk about. There's like a little bit of chewiness to it.
Yeah.
It's like a little bit sweet.
Yeah.
A little bit roasty.
That's what's going
A little sweet, a little roasty. Like I said, like before you even said you were done with your spiel, I was like, dude, I could drink this all day.
Yeah.
That's the kind of beer this is.
The other thing too with that, the profile of it, I'm also thinking ahead to what it is I'm actually going to do with this beer, which is we're going to eat corned beef and cabbage as a family with this beer.
Yeah.
So some heavy potatoes, some fatty brisket, right?
Yeah. Salty,
and saltiness. And you're going to need some of that sweetness in that roasting, that
through
coffee to like balance that experience. And everyone's just going to not talk at the table. It's going to be so great. I won't need to just be like, that's the goal. That's the goal.
All right. Well, that's great. I don't know what else I can say about that.
Awesome.
That's just good.
So we can go through the recipe of this Irish Red really quickly because now thinking about how breweries in general might make multiple beers, this beer is pale malt, Karistan, roasted barley. Right? And the roasted barley in an Irish Red is used to get your color, just a wee bit. So it's 85% pale malt, 11% Karistan, and 4% roasted barley. So the Karistan's a little bit higher than it was in the stout. Almost twice as much, just a little bit less than that. And the roasted barley is just barely the same amount that it was in the stout. But you can see, I mean, the color, it's a little darker than I wanted to come out. But when you get like something like a Smithwick's or right, it's actually fairly brown, So, but this is pretty good. I think this is a little bit darker than my American Amber was.
Yes,
but
quite, yeah. But American Amber had more red highlights in it. Yeah.
Same mash profile, same yeast. Both beers got 1 ounce of Challenger hops for their bittering charge. This came in at 1043. The other one was 1044. So this one didn't attenuate quite as much, but it's only 4% ABV instead of 4.3. Oh my gosh, tragic. But it has less ingredients in it, so of course it works.
I would say the only big difference is like the roastiness isn't here in this one. Yeah,
that's what I was going for, right? I wanted to really see what the subtraction tasted like, right? And also then provide something like when you start to burn out a little bit on this at the dinner table,
hold on,
you move to this. You know what I mean?
It's funny that there's more hops presence in this beer than there is in the stout.
Yeah, I think because it's just more. You got to fight through it with the more malts character.
That's the thing, though. It's funny. How much Challenger hops is in this one versus this one?
Both the same. 1 ounce, 1 ounce. Yep.
And I would say this has more.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, this is slightly less. I mean, it's only 1 point different starting gravity. So, but yeah, the hops shine through here a little bit more because it doesn't have the roasted. It doesn't have the flaked barley. It doesn't have the caramel malts in it, right? So, I mean, it has the. I'm thinking about the other one, but it hasn't the roasted malts. So those hops come through a little bit more.
And so, step mashes for both of these.
In these examples, I went with a prolonged, a 90-minute low 142, and then ramped to. For another just a 15-minute ramp up to 158.
Okay.
And I didn't do my traditional then take it to 168 for mash out. So they're both 142. So everything's the same except for that little change in the recipe. Because then also thinking about a brewery would probably just use the same process, right? Their equipment is set up to run a certain way, right? Yeah. So that's what I wanted to do here. Just really taste the difference. It's really minus the roasted malts.
Well, it's like you're starting your own little Irish brewery here, bro.
Mm-hmm.
No, these are great. I mean, if you were maybe expecting a guest, maybe not your family, you know, some guy who lives down the street that may stop by for some corned beef and cabbage, you know, I'm available.
Okay,
You know,
well,
let me,
we'll
let
keep
me
that
know,
in mind.
let me know. But this is great. It's fascinating. Well, fascinating just from a beer perspective, like that. You know, you did the right thing. You know, you have a certain procedure. You're just going to switch out ingredients.
Yep.
And see what happens. And these are two different beers, even though they are connected very closely.
Very
and I'm
closely.
glad we did the video together with them.
Me too.
And two, like, it's fascinating that just if you ramp up, it's like you take your lever and you ramp up the roastiness, how that affects the hop presence, and to taste them side by side, it makes it very apparent. You
Yep.
know, like if you were to not, you know, if you were to taste them like 2 weeks apart from each other, you wouldn't have no idea. But certainly, like right next to each other, it's just like, wow, that roasted barley smells great. It's just
Yeah.
like great.
It is really good.
In any case, thank you for this. This is great.
Super.
You know, these are good, really good.
I think for me, the one thing is like the recipe is one part of it, and just playing with so many stout recipes over the years, playing with the midnight wheat, whatever. But I think the real winner here for me is that Irish ale yeast. Is what really sort of, for some reason, it just really ties all those ingredients together.
I'm glad.
And
Yeah.
just having that roasted barley in here is giving that Irish ale yeast whatever it needs to do what magic
thing.
it does here.
Its thing.
It's doing some of the magic here.
Yeah.
Because I've used that Irish ale yeast in like other beers, and it's just sort of like, eh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it just does something when there's roasted malts around.
I'm glad you said that because I've used that yeast strain before and have not been impressed. But here it's really shining, and I'm now it's warming my heart a little bit about it
Yeah.
because I'm like every time I'm like, oh yeah, I got to use like an Irish strain, and it just never really worked for me. But this is great. It works in the style
Yeah.
that it's appropriate for.
Yep.
You try to use it for other things.
Yeah.
Not so
right.
much.
It's a very specific application.
All right,
yeast.
that's the tip from us. Okay. Well, thanks for this. I appreciate it. Next time you're having some kind of big Irish gathering, you know, I'm a quarter Irish. Just remember that. I don't know. Check my 23 and me. I'll prove it to you. Thanks for watching. I was trying to see what Mike's reaction would be, so that was that. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel because we do this kind of thing every single week. For John and Mike, brew-stews.com, brew on.
Cheers.